I think when I look at it, we're really at a place where the bachelor degree isn't becoming as valuable as we've been taught that it's been. And a lot of it has to do with the manipulation of the masses, manipulating us for our money. So it's a money grab. Hey, come and get this degree. Hey, come and get this degree. Hey, come and get this degree. You'll do better. You'll work better. You do better. You work better. You go and get it, and you're not even fulfilled because there's a lie that says this is going to fulfill me. That's the first thing. The second part is now you're in debt. They got your money, and then they put you in the debt, and the jobs that are out there don't even equal the pay for the jobs. So if I spend $100,000 to get a degree, or let's say 75,000 to get a degree, whether half of that is in loans, a part in grant, some out of my pocket, you're still left with the issue of the job that you go into. Does it make 100 plus? Really, if we look at return of investment, if we look at the return on investment, most investors will not invest in a product. So let's look at real estate. Let's take real estate, for example. Most investors want to be 65 to 70% in on any asset when it comes to a rehab property. If it's a homeowner, a property that homeowners are going to live in, you still as a homeowner have to bring anywhere between a low of 3.5%, in some cases 10, 15% down on a house. That's the first thing. They recognize that if they gave you and loaned you 100,000 to buy a house, that the interest alone, after you put that 10% down and you got 90 that's on the table, the interest alone, you're dealing with a 6%, 7% interest rate. That interest, they make that investment for the interest. So there has to be a rate of return that they see month after month, and then a point where they say, "Oh, that person's going to be in that house for 20 years." They're going to pay 50,000 or 60,000 in interest during that time, and I'm just throwing numbers out there. Just throwing numbers out there. Why don't we evaluate when we get a degree based on that? That if I go into the business, if I go and I get in that business space and I'm going to come out and I'm not already working for a place right now that's paying for it, I don't already have a clear path, let's say to the next two levels up. And they're going to be, I know that when I get to this level, the next level up, yeah, I may come in at 55, but the next level up for me is 110. And I'm just throwing this out there. I know it's different depending on the job, depending on the position. But I know that I spent at least 75 on my career. Now I know what I'm making, even prior to taxes, still is equal to how much I spent. Think about that. Think about that. You still got to say how many years do I have to pay to take to pay that 75K off, and when is my break even point? For some professions, if it's a doctor, doctors can do amazing things. They can goof off for 20 years, come back the last 20 years, and still be living in a good place. But a lot of professions can't do that. A lot of jobs can't do that. Degrees can't do that. I'm going to go over to Anton Daniels' channel because he had an interview that took place, and I watched most of this interview, and I thought it was phenomenal because what it did was it pointed out what's really taking place with this change from redesignation for professional degrees. And that's important, is important, because the redesignation of professional degrees is going to affect how much people can loan you and how much you can borrow for your degree, which needs to be capped. It needs to be capped. I keep going back to this. This is not about, our society isn't built on creativity. That's why the people who are creative make the biggest products, do the Tesla rollouts, do the UFCs, they're used to thinking creatively because they know the only way to attract money, wealth, finances, is not to do what everybody else is doing. And everybody else is going to get that 4-year. So when they're getting that 4-year and you're jumping on that bandwagon, you still have to compete with them when they come out. Whereas the ones who are creative know that when I'm creating something, when I'm making something, when I'm putting something together, the value is in what I created. That value now seeps into me because it came out of me. Now I become the niche, I become the unique portion. Like, you can't replace a Steve Jobs. Even though Cook is there and they've paid him an enormous amounts of money, you can't replace a Steve Jobs. He had a certain perspective. I mean, you think of it, a guy that makes Apple and makes a touchscreen computer, but you go to his house and his kids did not play on that same computer he's selling you. There's got to be something there. Come on, we can't be ignorant and act like it's not true. Same thing if you look at a Elon Musk. He's the niche. If you replace Elon with another CEO, with somebody else running Tesla at the helm of Tesla, let's say Elon, something happened to Elon today, and they had to replace somebody as the head of Tesla. You won't get the same creativity, direction of the company, and we see it already from Apple and how Apple has been dragging their feet when it came to the AI revolution. We can't ignore that. We can't ignore that. Apple's behind when it comes to autonomous driving vehicles. They're jumping on Tesla's boat and say, let's come together and do a partnership. They're behind. They don't have a version of Gemini. They don't have a version of Chat GPT. They have none. They're still in their iOS system, which their iOS system should have already evolved to a type of large learning model, especially when you consider how much data they have access to. But the biggest problem is when you take away somebody that is innovative, creative, now the company drops the piece. So the value isn't in that degree. It's in the ability to sit down and create something and challenge yourself to bring it to pass, where people will run and they will fail, they'll cry, they'll give up. Somebody was trying to do the same thing that Steve Jobs was trying to do. They just couldn't get to that point. They saw it, but they couldn't bring it to fruition. It takes a certain level of energy to bring that to pass. So that's the reason I'm passionate about it. Why you hear me screaming through the screen, okay? And that's a scream.
Oh no!
I'm passionate about it because when we say socialism, when we beat up billionaires, when we attack millionaires, when we say, oh, we got this victim mentality, everything's falling apart around us, we're automatically leaning to a lack of creativity and saying we don't respect creativity. Like, I'm picking up this phone and I'm like, yeah, this is one of the most creative inventions. Oh man, I'm telling you, I can't be as creative as this. I don't have none of that in me. I can't solve situations and problems and circumstances. There's not enough things out here to solve issues. Real Estate Lunchbox is about solving perspective and waking people up to the fact that at the end of the day, your biggest source is not your degree. It's actually what's in you that's your biggest source. That's the reality of it. It's never been the degree. The thing that makes nations rise and fall is that internal instinct, creativity, prowessness, grit that lies within the individual. That's why Rockefeller and some of them were able to come in and to save our country back in the 40s, 30s, 20s, when we were at the brink, the start of a economic collapse. Chase came in and built out the country. Rockefeller came in and created railroads that revolutionized how we travel. You can't do that. Now we say there's a lie and a deception that creativity and innovation is gone, and this is it. This is it. Where we see problems every single day and never sit back to look at the solution. So degrees, which as special and unique as they should be, and I feel like they are, because you took 4 years sitting in one place.
Oh no!
Sitting in the same chair.
Oh no!
You stopped your money earning potential for 4 years, and some of y'all 5 years, in order to get a piece of paper to realize that the money earning potential was actually in you and not at that institution. That institution did not tell you anything that you could not get from Google or a certificate course or the sheer grit for apprenticeship. And that's what that's the issue right now. There's no apprenticeship. Nobody's teaching people how to do what they do. People are too prideful and arrogant to learn it from other people that don't know it, that know it. Or they say, hey, I'm going to figure it out. And then they gas out and they stop. And then after they stop and it doesn't work, everybody's the bad. Hell is this? You did that. All these complaining, lying, crying kids.
Oh no.
And adults.
Oh no.
Victims.
Oh no.
And that's it. Because we're creating victims in this experiment of America right now. We're at a place right now where we're creating victims because they're crying about the pathway that they were deceived into taking it. Instead of saying, I like green eggs and ham.
Oh no.
But Anton touches this, and I listened to this whole thing. I'm not going to sit back and just do this. But this is more for the people out here who are saying that nurses are no longer a professional designation. We got to understand what we define and redefine why. Actually, let's step back. We got to understand why this is the case. Why?
So today in my life,
Hold on. I don't even want to go. I want to do this. Hold on. Let's go right over to, let's do this.
acute care nurse practitioner degree is not a professional degree anymore. And it's giving, give me my money back. I commented this on another video, but it's giving, relieve my loans for my fake degree, please. And I'm not kidding. I'm at a point now where I'm like, if it's not a professional degree, but it's not going to be recognized, if we're not going to bring more people in, if when you go to surgery, you're not likely to have a CRNA to do your anesthesia, if when you go to a clinic or an urgent care, you're not likely to have an advanced practice provider. Like,
huge changes taking place with the Department of
She's crying
Education,
too
and
much.
so many people are, it's a very polarized conversation and people are giving their opinions on it, but I want to share some facts about what exactly is happening with changes and the difference that is being labeled professional versus non-professional degrees. I don't think people have the full picture, and so I'm going to share some facts about what's really happening here. The first thing to note is that these newly proposed classifications are largely based on cost of attendance and the ability to pay the loans back. So if you are now going to be classified, if you're a graduate level student, that's a non-professional degree. So it doesn't mean that it is diminishing the hard work that you've done. It is just a classification for the purpose of determining loan caps. If you are in a degree field that is beyond that, that's now being classified as a professional degree, I'm going to list what these are. Graduate level or non-professional degrees would be nursing, allied health, PT, OT, PA, social work, etc. Fields that will be classified as professional degree are as follows. You have pharmacy, dentistry, veterinarian practice, chiropractic, law, medicine, MD, optometry, osteopathic medicine, podiatry, theology, plus clinical psychology. Now, there's an obvious factor here that immediately stood out to me. It is the earning potential. So the degrees that are...
That's it right there. A lot of y'all are arguing and crying because you don't realize your earning potential is capped and your pockets have been tapped just getting to that spot. And you know it. You know it in your gut. You've already seen it. You're looking at your paycheck and you're like, damn, I spent 4 years, 6 years, 7 years working to get to this practitioner place or get this higher level of nursing. Oh, I can't afford to pay my mortgage. I can't afford to do this. They suckered you. And we're trying to make it right. But you prefer to be a sucker. And because you just want a title. You're just like our congressman. You just want power and a title. You just want to be noticed as senator or congressman. And that's the existence, the whole story. Pride, arrogance. I just want my title out there. And this title is going to get me something. No. I keep saying it. It's never your title. Your title means nothing. Your title means nothing. It's a man-made position that can actually change, and we're seeing that right now. The perspective that the United States government, Department of Education, sees your title of your job in has changed and shift. And you guys just don't want to change and shift. Go back and read the book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Are going to be graduate level or non-professional degrees. Remember, this is all about loan caps. The federal government is trying to figure out how to reduce the burden of student loans. Why? Because we have a student loan crisis in this country. We have a ton of people in this country who are not able to safely pay back their loans. They are defaulting on their loans. You can't get rid of the student loan off of your credit. So this is a major burden on U.S. citizens who have taken out money for higher education. And what has happened is that although they're making a living wage, the interest rates are so high and so costly that they cannot afford to live comfortably and pay their loans back.
So that then feeds into the affordability crisis that people don't want to have a conversation about. People are talking about they can't afford it, they make this so much money, but it's the self-inflicted wounds that they're not adding into that conversation because they took out a bunch of student loans that they couldn't pay back. And they knew what they were doing when they did it, but they didn't think about it, and they thought that the loans was going to be forgiven based off of paying it back for 10 years and working for the federal government and doing an income-based repayment. But now you got to stand on your own, and you have to own the fact that you became a social worker, you took out $150,000 of student loans, and that was irresponsible. So the federal government is now proactively taking steps based off of learned experiences and saying, hey, we need to put a cap on this, we need to put a cap on that. It doesn't mean that we don't need it, it doesn't mean that you're not valuable, but if you are going to go into this, your earning potential is this is where the cap is going to be, and I support it 100%. Shout out to Trump and the Department of Education.
And I don't see how that's creating the amount of chaos that I see on TikTok and YouTube. And I look at some of this stuff and I leave a comment and I just want to say, how much debt you got? How much student loans you got? At the end of the day, you can't cap yourself, so you will be capped. It's like certain places drinking alcohol, like certain places in the country, in the world, we have a cap on who can drink alcohol. We have a starting point because when we didn't have a starting point, we had children walking around in the streets drunk, okay? And that's what's happening. You guys are drunk off of debt. Drunk off of debt, drunk off of false expectations that come from your degree. A false sense of purpose and I know I'm kicking your butt, but it's designed to wake you up. And I don't think a nurse is not important. I don't think a nurse is less important than a doctor. A doctor may have certain information and a skill, but you got to look at it. A nurse is the first one there. And a lot of times she makes the calls based on her knowledge. But that doesn't put you in a place where you're a doctor. Completely different. Completely different. It still doesn't. And if you want that for the title, and you feel like you can do better, just go get it. Just go get it. But you're mad at a program, you're mad at Department of Education, you're mad at President Trump, and what we're trying to tell you is be rational what you invest your money in for education. Because you got to make an education investment. You got to invest your money for education. Whether you invest for somebody's Patreon that you join, or whether you invest for a 4-year college or certificate that you get, you're going to make that. So the level investment should be equal to the earning potential. But I'm going to tell you, that is still a lazy thing because you will have some people that will make that level of investment and they will not do shit with it. They won't even exceed or go past that earning potential. Then you get you get people also who make that investment, and even though they went to school for a job and got a degree where the average income is $80,000 or $75,000, they're well into $500,000 because the education did not stop there. They didn't look at that as being the end all be all, and they decided to expand their education. Not just look at this. The schools are doing you wrong. The schools are stealing the money. You have endowments like I think Harvard's endowment is, they have more money in their endowment than Apple. And that's crazy. And Apple has more assets, technology, value in the marketplace. Harvard doesn't have the same value that it used to have back in the day in the marketplace. The same thing a WGU, a Western Governors University graduate can do, the same job they can do, a Harvard grad can do. In more cases, they could probably do it better because their degrees are based off of working knowledge, working information. They're not taking someone from scratch to how to do something. They're giving advantages and incentives to someone that is already doing this job and say, hey, let's take what you're doing, let's put that into a degree format, and let's turn around and fill the gaps of what you know for that profession, for that space. I don't know why this is hard to grasp. I don't know why people don't get it. I don't know why there's such an argument or people are tripping over this. I don't see it.
Cases, especially with all of the various changes that happen with loan repayment. And although a lot of people were upset that they're not income-based programs anymore, it is just kicking the can down the road. Although in the immediate you're able to pay less, your interest is literally a death trap. And so it was never going to help either way. It's just a bad situation. And what's happened is you have some people who are saying, well, you should just pay back your loan. You signed it. You're an adult. Yes. Contractually, absolutely, it is your obligation. On the other end of that, the empathetic piece is that a lot of these students are first-time college students who were sold this idea that you must attend college, you must attend university, and all that they did not have the economic means to pay for college, and so many of them didn't even have parents to walk them through this process. I can't tell you, when I went to sign up for school, every single student walked into the financial aid office alone.
Okay. My parents let me fly. And I was 100% responsible for everything once I got to college. And they did not walk me through it. They didn't do my FAFSA. I did that. They did not enroll me. They did not help me apply for school. I did that. And I realized very early and very quickly that it made no sense whatsoever. And I went and got a job. And then I wound up going to community college later on.
My parents wasn't there to actually do that. I did my own application. I applied for my own FAFSA myself also. I'm not imitating, I'm saying the truth. I registered for my own school. I attended my own classes. I was responsible for my own debt. I was responsible for finding my own grants, my own scholarships. I was 100% responsible. 100%. And then I got to a place where God said, get your real estate license. And I dropped it like a bad habit. And even when, because I saw it, it felt miserable trying to complete college when you see all of this money and opportunity going out the door. When you're like, man, I could learn A, B, and C and be at 100,000, be at 50 or whatever. I had to get out there and do it. And just like anything else, you have ups and downs in the economy and people, jobs and all those things. But for a large part, yeah. I had to navigate that myself. I had to do it and deal with the repercussions of those decisions. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. When you have, if you've got to sit back and do all of this stuff to push your kid to do the FAFSA and to go to class, boy, you just are creating issues for them, and they're just creating issues for themselves. There has to be a level of motivation once you get past that high school phase. That motivation to do things in life, to be successful, to pursue the level of education that you want. Even if it means you pivot here, you pivot there, you may start this and pivot that, you may start this and pivot this. Pivoting is nothing wrong with pivoting. Matter of fact, being a good pivoter, I think, is one of the biggest keys to success. Saying, okay, this is not working. God, do you really want me to do this? Okay. All right. If you want me to do it, I'm going to walk it. Okay. This is probably me talking to myself. When he said that, I was like, damn, I thought I was the anomaly. And I'm not. I'm not. So when you want to put yourself into debt for your child to be successful in school, you better be there to ask your child to go to class, to do all those different things, and to pick a job that pays them 100,000 or 80,000, or be ready to have them sit in a house with you while they're looking for that job over the course of those years. The key, I keep saying it and I'm going to keep saying this. The better you are in running your own business and understanding entrepreneurship and understanding your value in the marketplace, identifying how you can bring value in the marketplace, stacking your value, and creating assets that not just change your life, but change the life of everyone that gets it. That is the key. Even if you can make a small percentage impact, if you're trying to be a nurse and you're teaching people how to break into nursing, or you're teaching people how to obtain a certain nursing degree, teach them and let that be your part-time job or your part-time business, and stack your six figures off of that, because they already bought into the fact that that's what they need to be and that will make it right for them. I think it's really, and it also goes back to a level of comfort. Just being damn lazy and comfortable. Just being comfortable. I would not be talking to anyone on this live stream or even putting this content out if I was comfortable. This is the least comfortable place you want to be in. Consistently doing it and putting it out there. And the subscribers have grown, and some of you guys have really subscribed. I get your comments and definitely your request. Leon, how did you do this? Tell me how you do that. And it goes somewhere. But I'm saying to myself, who can I give 18 years of real estate experience to? Who can I give technology in AI and avatar now? Who can I give this thing to? Who can I help get to that space? That's where the value add is, and guys. That's really where it is. It's not in the paper. Let the paper come after you've established yourself in some trade or some tier that benefits people.
So I'm not sure if everybody is situationally is as situationally aware as I was, but I vividly remember as an 18-year-old that I knew exactly what I was signing up for when I signed up for it. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. Always leave it.
Hey, so and that's it. When our kids don't know what they're signing up for, when they believe more the system that teaches them in school than their parents, who a lot of us we've already walked this road. They can benefit from it, but we don't want to teach them and have them benefit. We want them to conform to culture. That's what we want. And conformity to culture is exactly what Jesus came against. Conformity to the world. It's better for you to find and listen to what God has to say about your career path than to sit down there and just jump in that career path because your mom is doing it, your dad is doing it, your friends are talking about it. Have a level of peace and surety. I'm never about not getting the degree. I'm never about not getting it. But if you're going to do it, know that you have at least some peace and surety about it. Know that the God who created you and has a purpose for your life knows where you need to go with that degree and has already plotted out those steps, that plan, laid it out, and you have a confidence of assurance knowing that it's already been laid out for you. And if you can move in that level of assurance, knowing that is a purpose you being there, because I listened to this other one with this kid talking about he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. He went to college. You know, he had a purpose. I was choked. What? No, what? You get your purpose from Howard University?